Welcome back to Bridges. We are speaking to former Mayor Jack Ford, one of the preeminent political voices in this community. He's talking about serving us again in the capacity of City Council. And we are happy to have you back. We're happy to have you here on the show today.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. So what would you say, as you take a look at the city right now, what would you say are major, why are we in the circumstances we're in? And let me explain a little bit further. One of my concerns is that I have seen the city move from a place that you and I were virtually kids in, not such a very long time ago, but a while ago. Where it was comfortable to raise your kids, you were comfortable walking around, to a city where almost every day now you're hearing about some shooting, some loss of income for some family, the need for more social services because the economic status of our community is changing so quickly and so profoundly. How do we turn that around?
Well, there's a myriad number of problems, and in one sense there's actually been a little pickup of economic activity in Toledo, primarily at the plants and in the healthcare arena. There's some good signs there, but when you look at the quality of life, there's really two or three Toledos. There's what I call the far south Toledo, and there's the Point Place Toledo. Fairly good quality there. Living arrangements, so forth. People have issues with respect to employment and some foreclosures, but not the whole overladen crime and other domestic problems we have in the older neighborhoods. It seems like we've let things get away, and now we're trying to deal with it. And I'll give you one example. When I was real active as mayor, I would go to block watch meetings, and mothers and grandmothers would always say, Mayor Ford, we need programs for our kids. And I would listen to that, and I was always polite, but what I would be really thinking is that the last thing we need is another youth program.
Yeah.
And the reason I would be thinking that, but not say it politically, was because I knew that we have something like 200 plus youth programs in this community. If you ask the average citizen, how much do you spend on youth in the Toledo area, most folks would hazard a guess at, 8-10 million. It's really over 110 million a year. The problem is that not that we don't have programs, we don't have coordination, we have duplication, and we don't have any kind of umbrella that you bring the folks together. We need to do that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I pitched that to Glenn Richter when he was at United Way.
United Way, yeah.
To Bob Lucas, to Bill Kitson, and we continue to have this plethora of organizations for our kids, and yet there's really no umbrella.
Right, which lessens the opportunity for any of them to be successful, by the way.
Well, everybody wants to be an executive director.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have their own turf, and you don't see folks coming together. That's just one way we continue to spend money at a problem: youth activity, recreation, reclaiming youth who have gotten into trouble. We're throwing money away because we don't have real strong coordination. It seems to me you can get the mayor, council, the county commissioners, the United Way, all come together on that issue, we could really draw some of the strings tighter. Same thing with housing. I would say LMHA, the city, LISC, all of these, the banks, the community reinvestment responsibility of the banks. Why don't we see all of that coming together and things being done in a way that really looks out for taxpayers and really returns a bang on for the buck.
What would you say if Mayor Bell were sitting in front of us, and I know that you know him well, what would you say to him in terms of where his focus should be right now in order to make this a better city?
Well, I think politically, Mayor Bell remains very popular with a lot of folks who live in one of those Toledos.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
which one of those Toledos?
The one where folks are doing pretty well.
All right.
Okay. But I would say to Mayor Bell, I was up on Stickney, where you're from, and the place looks like a cyclone went through there. Mm-hmm. And I can recall last summer driving through, I still go on tour, and I ran into Mayor Bell's father walking down the street, Norman Bell, and sure. I said, Norm, well, what the hell is happening up here? He said, hey, and so the mayor, that's his home neighborhood, he knows that. We have to do something, and you can build all the new schools you want in Toledo, but if the older neighborhoods are going to hell, these new schools are not going to be the source of inspiration for our children as we think they will.
That's right. They'll have the same challenges the neighborhood has.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think it depresses them. It would depress me if I had to walk daily by boarded up, blighted homes. And so we need to do something about it. And one last pet peeve I have on this, you're not going to invite me back again. The land bank program has been rolled out as one of the tools in the toolkit to try to deal with that. And I've met with them. I met with Mr. Beasley, who's the chairman, and I think they're trying to do some things, but even they would say it's not the panacea. But there's a danger there also, and the danger is if you take the 200 or 300, maybe as many as 900 homes they're talking about trying to pull into the land bank. And if you begin to tear down too many of those, and if people don't buy the properties adjacent to their homes, you're going to end up what you see in Flint and what you see in Detroit today, large wastelands that once had properties on them.
Thriving neighborhoods.
And they're just laying there, and no one ever reclaims them. And I've said this has the potential to be the new urban renewal, which was sold 35, 40 years ago as a panacea, and it turned out it wasn't. You know, one of the difficulties I think that many of us have in this community is that we are not really clear of the role of City Council. We're not. What we see City Council doing is disagreeing, not necessarily bringing forth solutions to issues in the community. City councilmen are all very visible and they're all very reachable. You can get to them, you can talk to them. But the impact of that body, I think many people question. The impact, the positive, the ability of that body to make any positive change in this community. Would you agree or disagree? Well, more so in the last 20, 25 years than it was before. I was with Cardi and Larry, I can't think of the guy who used to be the auditor, Larry. We were 3 council members. Kazala. And there were 3 council members, and we drafted the Strong Mayor District Plan in 91, 92. Once that passed, we moved to a strong mayor form of government, as opposed to before it was a weak mayor and a much stronger council. Council's role now is to look at the budget, to work with the mayor around that, but it is the mayor that sets the tone now, no question about it. Now, but what being on council or being a commissioner can do, as I said earlier, it gives you a platform to highlight certain things and to bang the drum on some things that need further discussion, further help. And some council members, some commissioners do that, some do not. If I am elected to council, I plan to do it. And at my age and with my experience, I'm gonna be real loud. And
on those issues.
On a lot of issues.
Let me ask you, we've got just a couple of minutes left. I want to ask you this. You've always been a favorite of unions. They've always supported you, even when you spoke positions that were not necessarily favorable to them. You're having a little trouble getting their support this time around. Do you think you can make it without it?
Well, I'm pretty well branded. I mean, most folks know Jack Ford and what I stand for. I understand the unions wanting to put one of their own on to city council. I've not always been supported by all the unions. I've been heavily supported by the UAW,
yes,
and by Local 500 and by the plumbers and iron workers, but not so much by some of the others. My sense is that council will do whatever it has to do with respect to this appointment. But I plan to run, I plan to win, and I plan to be a very strong, clear voice on some issues, and I'm looking forward to it. I will say one other thing on this. In '92, when we got the strong mayor district plan passed, part of the agenda, because I wrote the district plan. You got 30
seconds.
Was to make sure we had diversity on council. I wanted to have at least 3 minorities because we're 30% of the population.
And you did do that. Thank you very much. We have to go away. We will be right back.